What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Bleacher Report Live. The Eagles are getting ready to play the Rams on Sunday Night Football. It's been a while since I last saw this team compete, considering they played Thursday Night Football and won a major game against an NFC East rival, the Commanders, to take control of the division and put themselves in a different tier in my eyes. And, obviously, there's a big game coming up, but a lot of what this town has been discussing is, where do the 8-2 Eagles really sit? Who are they when you compare them to the rest of the NFC? And then you can even expand into more of the AFC as well. But I definitely want to have a major emphasis on just the NFC for today because, the Lions are absolutely whooping teams, putting up 50+, annihilating them. And there's no doubt about it. After that 5-interception game from Jared Goff, there was a huge turnaround against the Jags, and they destroyed Jacksonville. I love this Eagles team, though. I love this Eagles team. And realistically, no one scares me in the NFC. Now, let me be very clear. When I make a statement like that, that doesn't mean I expect whatever happens will be an Eagles blowout. It doesn't mean I don't respect the Lions or respect any other team that we would have to take down. I do respect them. I just have a lot of pride in the way our offensive line will pretty much wear you down through 4 quarters of play, where your defensive line is out of breath, out of shape, and have zero chances of beating Mailata consistently with 12 minutes to go in a one-possession game when Jalen and Saquon are doing the dirty work. I love the ability of Saquon being able to win matchups that aren't favorable. And, sometimes that's going to happen. You have to throw it underneath. It seems like there's going to be a gang tackle. Instead, Saquon plows through for an extra 5 yards, and now it's 2nd and 5 instead of what could be 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 9. Those extra 3-4 yards could set them up eventually for a 3rd and 1. Here's a tush push. Here's a first down. And now we continue the charge. There's really good talent with the Lions. There's really good talent with their offensive coordinator and the ability to get a whole nother year with that same structure, with that same play calling. That's all great. But I have so much faith in this Eagles team. It's been a huge turnaround for me. This is a monster 180. But there's a real reason why I am so comfortable with making these claims and making these comments about this football team. And that's because I believe in their bread and butter. I don't know many teams that are going to be able to take us down if, and it's a big if, but if the offensive line in Mailata, Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, Lane Johnson do their job. And there's not many defensive lines or defensive coordinators or anyone in a secondary that can consistently beat those men that I just laid out. And then it's Saquon Barkley with the rock in the hands. I have so much belief in that recipe. It's unbelievable. And to the flip side of it, I have so much faith in this defense. I don't know if the pass rush is as great as I would want it to be. If I could live in La La Land and make this thing the most perfect defense that I wouldn't like. But because Quinyon shuts down your best receivers, and he doesn't just shut them down, right, or has them have a slow day, there's this basic set of knowledge, okay, that people like to throw around in the sports world about you can't slow down Kevin Durant. You just no, you can't stop Kevin Durant. You just have to slow them down. You won't stop Kevin Durant, but you just need to make him work for his points. Your first-year corner is so elite that he's making scary Terry McLaurin go over when he's matched up against Quinyon. Jamar Chase gets 5,000 yards in a game or two after he faces the Eagles. When Quinyon's on him, he can't get more than 3 catches all game long. So maybe the pass rush isn't as lethal as we would like, but in other ways, they make up for it. Cooper DeJean, Zach Bond is one of the best linebackers in all of football this season. I really love who they have become. I believe in who they have become. And it took me a while to get here, but there's no doubt about it. I am here. So we're going to take a look at some of these teams in the NFC. And also there are some notes, I guess, to go over. The Rams have won 4 of their last 5. Let's take a look at that for a second. You're going to face a 5-5 LA Rams team. They're an okay team. They can beat you if you don't, prepare, and if you don't think that you got to bring it, and if you feel you're just going to beat them because you can roll the ball out and win automatically. Yeah, the LA Rams have a chance, especially when you're flying and you're going on the road and you're going to the West Coast and it's a Sunday night football game. There's a lot to be said about the travel, so there's that. You're a little bit more rested, though. You're more well-rested considering you have a few extra days with that Thursday night game in play. I'm not worried about the Rams. If the Eagles do the homework, if the Eagles get themselves in the right mindset, and if they bring the right attitude and energy, which I anticipate they should, they're going to win this football game. I now have a new mindset when I watch them play. I will be just as angry as everyone else if it's 9,000 3-and-outs in a row in a first quarter. The new philosophy, though, is it doesn't really matter what it looks like in the first, second, third quarter. They're going to win. It's how it goes. Ugly, sloppy, this, that, they win. Doesn't seem right, something seems off, they win. Timeout usage wasn't sharp. Kellen Moore got away from... They win. They win. They win, they win, they win. So I'm going to go through a different emotional journey this Sunday. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Yes, I get fired up and emotions start to pour out organically when things occur and I can't help myself. But for the first time, I am establishing a legitimate new mindset the second I turn on that television and see the kickoff at around 8:15, 8:20 Sunday night. It's like, all right, Brodes, don't forget, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. Just let this thing roll. They have an 8-2 record for a reason. You believe in their core values. You believe in their ability to sort of get to their basics. And when they get to their basics, they are a dominant team that wears you down over 4 quarters. You know it works. You've seen plenty of examples. You know Saquon Barkley's a difference maker, and more so than you ever thought he would be. It's all right there in front of you. Let it play out and watch them expose Sean McVay and watch them expose even some of their receivers. Some are worried about what damage they could do with some of their receivers. Oh, okay, I'll show you. I'll show you. When you see Vic Fangio and what he's about to dial up, he's got his fingertips all over this, and he has found such unique ways to expose other teams, what they don't do well, and to take away some of the things that they do well. I believe in Vic. This guy's got more knowledge than all these coordinators and Sean McVay combined with Matthew Stafford. That's how long Vic Fangio has been around the league. And another keynote I haven't gotten to yet about this matchup on Sunday is there is a Bryce Huff injury. Now, Bryce Huff hasn't done a damn thing. Bryce Huff has not been a serious part of this team, which is a huge smack in the face considering the amount of money that we threw in his direction. He's been an absolute nobody. Welcome aboard Jalix Hunt. Let's see what he can do in a rotation with Nolan Smith, with BG. You still got some fuel left in that tank, baby. For Josh Sweat, right? He's another one who's been making an impact and getting to the quarterback. Let's filter in the projecty big pimpin', as they say, Jalix Hunt. I'll never, ever get over the fact that my man picks up the phone zone. It's Howie Roseman. It's time to get drafted. And he goes, what up, Big Pippin? It's truly remarkable. I believe in this team. 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 And no one scares me in the NFC. I respect teams in the NFC. Being scared of a team is different. Being scared of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots throughout their dynasty, that makes sense. You could sell me even this version of the Pat Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs. I could understand if someone was scared of them, even if they didn't play perfect ball for a while, because last year they didn't play perfect ball through the regular season. They were about an 11-win football team, and then what happened? They won the championship. They live on an island on their own. You can't really compare anybody to what they do, just like you couldn't compare anybody to the New England Patriots and Brady. But if you want to be scared of something like that, you could convince me that that makes a little bit of sense, although I'd say, come on, man, you can't go in scared. And I don't think the 2017 Eagles went in scared. They went in with a plan. They went in with aggressiveness, and they said, we're going to outduel you, even if you have one of your best days offensively, Thomas. We're going to match that with Nicholas Foles and throw in tight end, backup tight end passes and touchdowns. Philly, that's a backup tight end. And Trey Burton throwing that puppy in the end zone to Nick Foles. So we're bringing it, and that's the way you kind of have to approach it. But there are reasons, and there are teams that do deserve to, put some fear in you. No one in the NFC. No one. So let's talk about the good teams. And I guess it all depends on how you view the word good, how you view the word great, how you view the word elite. But I'll put some teams that are even 500, like they're good. Like they could win a football game. They're winning half of their football games. I get good, maybe above average is a better way to put it. So here are the above average teams. Even if they're a 500 record, I still think, just based off of, I'm not talking literally. There's some teams that are like 2-win teams, all right? So whatever. Arizona at 6-4. The Falcons at 6-5. The Rams and Seattle, they're sort of in that mix of the above average teams. There should be no one in the Philadelphia area or any Eagles fan that doesn't live around this part of the country. No one in hell should be afraid of any of those teams. Who's afraid of Jonathan Gannon? I'll take Nick Sirianni over Jonathan Gannon 50,000 times ever. And I am not the biggest Nick Sirianni fan in the world. I just put my hands up and say, I don't get it, but it works. That's sort of my stance on the head coach. I'm not going to sit here and rip him every single day because I don't get it. It's sort of like being, look, I'm almost 30 years old. I'm 29, right? There are people who are 60, 65, 70 who don't get my era of people. And now I'm starting to see the younger generation underneath me, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's fine. It is what it is. With Nick Sirianni, I don't get it, but it works. So it is what it is. And Jonathan Gannon is an absolute clown. Jonathan Gannon is an absolute bum. I will never respect Jonathan Gannon for how he handled the way he left town here. And if I had to put my money on the table and put my pride on the table, you think I'd ever be afraid of Kyler Murray versus Vic Fangio? No. And Jonathan Gannon versus Nick Sirianni? No. Jonathan Gannon's defense could get carved up like Swiss cheese no matter what day it is, because as much as he thinks he's a disciple of the Vic Fangio tree, he's got no knowledge on how to actually run it efficiently enough. All right, I give all the credit in the world when he was here to our beefy big men on that defensive line that was able to create 70 damn sacks. That gave Jonathan Gannon legs. That gave Jonathan Gannon life. It had nothing to do with Jonathan Gannon and his ability to coach. So no to Arizona. The Falcons, it was a fluke win early in the year when the Eagles didn't have their identity yet. If I had to see them again, I swear to you that this Eagles team would come up with pissed off energy and take it to them, because that win that the Falcons had here in Philadelphia, that was inexcusable. inexcusable for the defense to allow that at that particular time. But early on, this Eagles team still had a lot of questions, and they had to get through that early bye week until they could really establish how they were going to win football games. Who were they going to be? This is a totally different vibe of a squad. We'll find out about the Rams, obviously, this upcoming Sunday in Seattle. So here are the better teams. So that was the above average teams. These are the better teams looking at the NFC. The Commanders, 7-4. And you see the difference between who the Eagles are when you look at an NFC East opponent that has a young quarterback, and my man Vic swallowed him up. It's what it is. I don't want to hear for a second injuries, this and that. I like their quarterback. I think a lot of people with a brain like their quarterback. He's right now not ready for the moment, and it takes time to be ready for the moment. What I love so much about this group is they've been through the grind. Not just saying the high highs and the low lows and the emotional journey of those 17 weeks and, all that stuff, or 17 games and the pressure with the Philadelphia media and all that. Yes, that plays a role to know that last year it went one way when you got hit with adversity, and this year you found a way to get it back on the tracks. I think there's tremendous amount of value in that, and I think last year was such a learning moment and a learning part of the Nick Sirianni era that allowed for them to be where they are this year after the first 4 weeks and being 2-2. They rattled off all these games in a row. There were a lot of questions. They're dealing with some injuries. They had Fred Johnson and Tyler Steen in there playing on the offensive line, and they were still capable of annihilating you with the offensive line. Now think about what happens when you get Mailata back. It's crazy. It's even going to be a bigger wave. It's even going to be more dominant. But AJ, Jalen, you think about Jalen in the Super Bowl, he's farther along in the understanding what it means to be a great team feel. You need to know what it's like. Yeah, you can have it and go on this ride of adrenaline, but then it comes down to consistency, right? Like Jordan Love, for example, and watching what Jordan Love did to get Green Bay excited for a little bit. And they're in this category too as a better team at 7-3. But there's something to be said about knowing what it's like to have the crosshairs on you when everyone's talking about, I'm talking about, the national media crosshairs. Everyone's talking about, hey, what about this quarterback? Hey, what about this team? Hey, what about Dan Quinn? Hey, what about Terry McLaurin? Hey, if they can't get Terry McLaurin going against this Eagles team, well, then that's never going to be effective. They're never going to have what it takes to be an offense that can move up and down the field at will. And if they can't move up and down the field at will to keep up pace with what Saquon Barkley's doing, well, then they don't have a chance, and they are a step below the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's sort of how I see it. Same thing with Minnesota. I'm just not ready to buy into a team that is led by Sam Darnold, whether that's fair or unfair. I don't really respect them the same way that their record would indicate. They are this great team at 8-2, but that's just me. And then when it comes to the best, there's two teams, the Lions and the Eagles. And the Lions may be favored, or the Lions may have technically a better chance than the Eagles to win a Super Bowl or to lead the NFC charge and to face a team in the AFC to win the whole thing. But that doesn't mean that there's only one team in a tier. They may have an edge. They may have a little bit of an advantage. They may have more intrigue. And hey, okay, that's fine. The Eagles are right there. And the Eagles are that team. If the expectation is the Lions are better and the Lions have to get there and all this stuff, the Eagles are that team. If you're the Lions, you go, I don't want to see them. I'd rather see Minnesota. I'd rather see Green Bay. I'd rather see, obviously, any of the other teams I mentioned, the Commanders. You don't want to see the Eagles because there's this proven track record of they make Super Bowl appearances now. They are constantly there. They are a winning culture. They are a winning franchise. They're a winning organization. If you are the Lions, the last team you want to see is a team like that, with the pedigree of knowing how to get there. And with this regime as well, they made an appearance and was right there with the double-digit lead in the Super Bowl against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. And that was led by Jalen. That was led by some guys on this roster now. And that matters. And I think that experience and that sort of run that they had a couple of years ago will play a huge role when dicing through the important times of the year, the backstretch, when the pressure gets even higher. It's no longer, all right, we didn't have preseason, so it took us a little bit of time to figure out who we were. Now it's like, you know when you start to roll, and there's always a portion of a season where you understand if they have it or not. And this was sort of the part of the season where you knew they had it when they took care of business against the Commanders and the way they dominated late and just sucked the life out of Washington. That's what they do. They suck the life out of you because they can wear you down over time. And that's not going anywhere. That can happen against a team that's willing to try and match your intensity in the trenches as well. It's going to be tough with the Lions. It's going to be a battle with the Lions. But to act as if the Lions are in a different category all by themselves is unfair, in my opinion. No one scares me in the NFC. The Lions and the Eagles are together in a tier, and then you have better teams and above average teams, and the Eagles are right there when you compare them to every squad that is in this conference. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this episode here on Bleacher Report. Thank you all so much for hanging out. I greatly appreciate it. I will catch you guys post-game Sunday night. Really looking forward to it. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your week.